Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is The World According to Gus with Reverend Charles Edwardus.
Well, welcome to the world according to Gus. I am your host, Charles Eduardos. And again, I have one of my favorite people in the whole world, Felicia Reed, is with us again today. And we're going to talk about how to avoid the temptation of responding negatively. And that's kind of huge. And I think as we go through this, I want to we'll get to the point of discriminating between response and reaction, because the tendency is to react, and that is pretty much all the time negative unless we have evolved a little bit, right?
Unless we have healed.
Okay, all right. So welcome, Felicia. Good to have you.
Thank you.
So what inspired you around this topic? You know, apparently, and I kind of know this, but you have seen and experienced a lot of things. So you're not talking about something here that you have heard about. It's something that you have experienced and have had some practice in, correct?
Most definitely. I just want to tell everyone, I'm so happy to be here and to have another opportunity to share incredible downloads and wisdom and like you said, experience. And today we're talking about temptation.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You know, when things happen, we have options, we have choices.
Yes.
And our response or our reaction defines who we are and not necessarily the situation. And I can use road rage as an example.
Okay.
Before I move into my own personal examples, even though I'm sure I've encountered some road rage, who hasn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's take road rage. What if everyone on the highways responded negatively to road rage rather than blessing the person who just cut you off, gave you the finger, and tried to tempt you into falling into more rage? You know, what if everyone on the highway did that? The response would be a ripple, because you're then going to have to cut someone off, give them the finger or some bad words, and that person's going to come after you. And before you know it, there'll be 100 cars flying around a beltway somewhere because one person set that trap of temptation.
Yeah.
And what I want to tell everyone is, let's grow up. Let's be the bigger person. Let's bless everything that is set to rattle us, to distract us off our paths and our journey. And in doing so, we're going to we are going to be blessed, not only with lower blood pressures because we're not responding.
Right.
But we really are in charge of our reactions. So either we can fall in line and get in that rage and, you know, hope that everyone make it out alive on the highways, or we can just say, I'll be 15 minutes late. You guys go right ahead and do that road rage if you want to. And certainly we've seen times where people have flown past us on the highways, just on the shoulders, crazy driving. And guess what? They get up further ahead and they're looking at some lights, right, Charles?
That's true. So tell me, does this, do you think that a lot of these responses from people, what does that have to do with maybe a false sense of identity? A false sense of who they really are and who they are really create it to be. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And let me use my experiences, for example, without going into details, because like you said, an hour is not long enough for us when we get together. But let me just say, so I have had some incredible negative experiences, and they were bait traps. They were intentionally set for me to fall into them, to become something that I was not. And I looked at that trap and I said, that's not me. I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go there. I mean, it would involve me making Molotov cocktails and tossing them through house windows, or, retaliating in some kind of negative way to the negativity. And my stance was, I am going to remain who I am. Yeah. My response will be a reflection of who I am. Yeah. I'm not going to fall in the temptation of battling, because I'm not a fighter in that sense, and so I avoided the temptation to respond negatively. And that primarily says that I'm not engaging. You're not going to change who I am because of who you are.
Right.
And when we avoid that temptation, there's so much peace. When we can control our emotions and not be rattled by negativity.
Yes.
We are at a higher vibration than that negativity.
Yes, absolutely. So
the choice defines us.
When people respond in the ways that they do, psychology would tell us, neuroscience would tell us that these are patterns that we have learned, and that they are habituated patterns of thinking / being. In other words, we think, feel. We don't just think and then feel. Every thought has a feeling associated with it. Every feeling has an associated thought, and we tend to be reflexive thinkers, and things will layer. So we, through our upbringing, and in the early years of our childhood and everything, we were more in a place where maybe we didn't have a choice, but we always have choices. But if that's the norm, so to speak, within our nuclear family or whatever, we kind of develop these habits between birth and 8 or 9 years of age.
Yeah.
We reach a point of beginning to awaken to our choices, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is what you're talking about.
It's extremely powerful. And, we're brought up, you mentioned our upbringing, we're brought up as kids, usually told to take up for ourselves.
Yes.
Fight back. Don't be pushed around. Don't be intimidated. Don't be bullied. However, as responsible adults, we need to discern.
Yes.
We need to know when to choose our battles, how to fight those battles. Sometimes it's not with weapons or the same that was done. You can fight in different ways. As responsible adults, we use what we learned in our childhood to determine the decisions that we should make as adults. Do we want to fight back? Do we want to educate and empower and uplift and bless and pray? We tend to weigh options, ripples. If I do this action, what's going to happen as a result of me reacting that way? So part of being an adult is unconditioning from what we were taught as children and
Yes.
learn to use what we need and throw away the rest. Throw away the rest. Because if we did everything that we were taught as a child,
Wow.
woo,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and out of from a position of faith, even
yes,
and across different faiths, world faiths, um, there is the whole idea of turning the other cheek. There is the idea of not returning evil for evil.
right,
And you already talked about that, just the tendency to, when we do that, to exacerbate a situation, make it worse, as
yes,
opposed to taking control and bringing it down a few notches.
yes.
So, and it all comes back to choices.
Yes. And, also we have to take into consideration, yes, I was brought up to, to be that fighter girl, to stand up and speak up. And sometimes I did it and sometimes I didn't do it, as being heavily abused in unique ways.
Mhm.
I didn't speak up on that. However, if something else occurred, I might speak up on that. So, we had, even as kids, we had our choices. And I want to remind everyone, including myself, that as we mature and as we grow, we also learn different ways. And the options are so valuable in the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
The choices are incredibly valuable. You can choose to react a certain way based on maturity or immaturity. Have you learned enough as an adult to not respond like a child?
Okay. Yeah.
And that also piggybacks on faith, knowing that all things will work out for the greater good, and clinging to that energy form and source and power and
Yeah.
mindset,
Yeah.
thinking, and I could go on and on, but
Yeah.
knowing that all things work out for the greater good, and just getting out of the way. Sometimes, and I said it before, we want to be all up in the mix. We want to be in the battle. We want to be, in the fight.
Yes.
When we remove ourselves, we can avoid the temptation to respond in a negative manner. Just get out of the way. Just get out of the way. If someone does something to you, are you going to retaliate the same and return the same for what happened? Or are you going to be a bigger person, work on yourself, stay focused, pray for your enemies and your aggressors, send up great vibes, into the world, and create a different ripple? Or are you going to keep the ripple of negativity going? We have a choice.
Right. Right. Well, and again, the languaging that I have tended to use in some of the presentations that I've given, and some of the teaching that I've done, is around the whole idea of comparing our conditioned responses. We'll call that a reaction, because it's like when I hit that place on your knee, you have that knee jerk. So that jerk reaction, as opposed to a response, which I've allowed some space in between the stimulus.
The pause button, right?
And yeah, there you go. It's like hitting that pause button and allowing, as we say in the Christian tradition, be led by the Spirit. And a lot of that, again, going back to, a lot of that has to do with knowing that I am created in the image and likeness of Gus. I am created in the image and likeness of God. I am worthy and valuable regardless of, and I had some things in my upbringing that made me feel not as worthy or as good as others and whatnot. There were things of more of a mental psychological abuse and
Yes.
everything. But yet again, as you grow and you discover, and part of this comes down to, what are you doing for you
Yes.
in your personal development and spiritual development and growth? Do you have maybe meditative practice,
Right.
spiritual practices that you engage in, so that we can begin to connect in a very profound way to the real self, the
Yes.
real me, the real Felicia?
That's
So
right.
I think that's what we're inviting people to uh, come into a knowledge of who you really are. So can you talk about some of your spiritual practices and some of the things that you do in your daily life help
Yes.
you to be more of a conscious responder than an unconscious reactor?
That's right. And we need more pro-action too.
Yes.
Um, but that's another show, I think. So, I've come under brutal attacks, brutal. And in the last one at 51, and I'm 56 today, I confronted an aggressor who was doing some incredible work, incredible darkness.
Mm.
And it was cyber after a property attack. And it moved into the cyber realm, and that was to torture and control. And I told that person, I said, please go right ahead and do whatever you feel you need to do to me. I told them that. And I said, I will focus on healing the parts of me that need to be healed, and praying to God that I will come up with the appropriate response.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my pause button, right?
Okay.
Letting them know that I had nothing to do with the choices they were making to do to me what they were doing, and that I was going to push the pause button and go focus on me. In other words, I removed myself. I did not respond to the temptation as they bragged about, controlling me with software and devices and all kinds of cyber darkness. And I just said to them, please go right ahead and do whatever you feel is necessary. And in the back of my mind, I was saying, I know a powerful God. I was saying, I know a powerful God. So in other words, whatever anyone feels that they need to do to you, by all means, let them do it and get out of the way, and don't own it. Don't claim it. Avoid the temptation to be baited and respond.
Sure.
And in my daily practices, on a daily basis, there is incredible prayer work. There is working with nature, and that's another show. I'm working with nature and just, being grounded in faith to know that whatever I am tempted to respond to, there is a pause button that is called my higher power.
Right. Yes.
And I use it. And, you talked about, someone hitting you on the knee and choosing to kick them, punch them, or just like, okay, I'm okay. And I have been in that position. I have just said, one, I'm a female and I have some special powers. So I'm not going to kick you because I don't want to get my boots scuffed up. I don't want to mess my boots up, But what I am going to do is I'm going to pray for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to pray for you. And I have taken, fists and other things. And like I said, at 51, the worst. And I just have always said, I'm going to pray.
Yeah.
I'm going to pray. And it's a beautiful space to be in. And I don't have to respond because guess what? The master plan is already done. It's already done. I don't have to do anything.
And many times not responding, well, that is the response.
That's my response.
Not to, exactly. And that can be a powerful response.
It's so powerful.
Yes.
When people want to fight you
Yeah.
in your 50s over, I'm just like, y'all just go right ahead, because that's a little bit too much for me. And that's not who I am. That's not what I want to do. I'm going to avoid the temptation to fight you physically. I mean,
I read somewhere where it says just turn the other cheek. Turn
the other cheek. Go work on you, get powered up, and raise your vibration, because at times, we talked about the projection, and we talked about this off air, how things are projected onto us, and how we can take them in and own them if we allow that to happen. It's a temptation. Deflect it. I encourage everyone to deflect any temptation that comes that has a label of negativity. Don't respond, or respond in a higher vibrational manner, with prayer, with education, with empowerment, with faith, and not isolation, but just removing that negative energy source and telling it, you have no power over me.
Sure. So much of what we do experience in life comes back to that whole thing of the other person is actually projecting their stuff onto you and giving, doing their best to invite you to a guilt trip about stuff that's not even your baggage, it's their baggage, but they try to do the reverse whammy on you. And it's, again, being, as you're pointing out, the idea of being rooted and grounded in who you are. And even as you excuse me, raise your own personal vibration, that becomes almost like a force field that protects you, that
absolutely
those things cannot penetrate. And
absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because when we're in the weeds, and weeds are good, we need the dandelions and the clover, we need those in life. But when you're in the negativity, you're going to attract more of it. The key to avoid the temptation to respond to that is to get up out of it. Just get up out of it. Raise your vibration. It doesn't concern you. It's not about you. The other person or group has their, agenda and journey, and let them have their lives, and you go live yours without being tempted by negativity.
Exactly.
Just go live. That's all you have to do is survive. Just go live.
I remember Paul wrote in one of his letters to the church at Corinth, excuse me, in the second letter it was, he said, he tells us to bring every thought into captivity.
Yes.
And that's what I'm hearing you say. Thoughts may come, and it will come. They're not may, but thoughts will come. And a lot of times they're not necessarily even coming from us, but the thoughts will come. But it's our job to take those thoughts and make them obedient to us. Okay.
Yes. And I love that you said that. And I'm downloading. So let me get this out, because I got something juicy. So here's the thing. Inside of our brains is a chess game.
Okay.
We get to move the thoughts around.
Okay.
And certainly with everything that I have been through, the negative thoughts do pop up. I'm not going to say they don't. The bad words pop up. I got a whole war zone planned out in my head, but it's up to me to say, I'm not going to execute that.
Absolutely.
It's up to me to say, go to the other side of the brain, open up that other file drawer, pull out the doves, the love, the peace, the happiness, the joy, slam the door on the dark thoughts.
Yes.
And the more we do that, the more we are conditioned to instantaneously open up the drawer in the brain that has the light.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful space. And rewiring the brain is real. It takes a lot of inner work, but it takes a conscious awareness. And the more you go to the other file drawer, and I will tell my brain in a moment when something dark pops up, which is rare, but it does.
Yeah.
I tell my brain, go to the other file drawer, close that drawer, and go to the other file drawer.
Yeah. Okay.
So it knows, don't even open that drawer. That's not who we are. We might have those thoughts because we've been conditioned, but don't open that drawer. And I'm not saying to bury it. I'm just saying, like, we're not acknowledging it.
Exactly.
We're just, So thinking is powerful.
It really is. And even one of the things that I do is I just do it. The thought will come and I'll cancel. And
cancel, delete, and transmute. Because
exactly, there are different things. And again, what we're talking about here is, though, raising the awareness where these things aren't just indiscriminately happening, but that we are actually becoming more of the observer. We're living our lives out, but we're also watching, we're observing what's going on and what is happening at even some of the subtlest levels of our being, which is consciousness. And where am I consciously in this, and what choices am I making? What energy am I projecting that will ultimately come back to me? What energy do I want to feed?
Right.
There's a Native American proverb that talks about feeding the wolf,
the wolf you feed is the one that lives. Yeah, we're all of two wolves.
Exactly.
We're two wolves. We are of two wolves, and the wolf that we feed is the one that survived. I use it all the time. Yes. And I want to just piggyback on something you said. Using the energy. So when the negative thoughts do pop up, that's energy, and we can use it. So here's the thing: we can say cancel, delete that, and transmute it into positive energy, and open up that other drawer. Open up that other drawer. Use that energy.
Yes. So with the things that you have experienced, what would you suggest to somebody that may be listening that's struggling with their thoughts? And I'm going to take the opportunity to piggyback on you with that. But what are some ways that, and I know you work with people in coaching and counseling them as well, a person is saying, I've got this thing and I have all these thoughts, and that there are these people that just won't leave me alone, and you know the story. What are some of the things that you share with them about beginning steps, the baby steps to start to transform their lives?
It all starts with the thinking. It all starts with the thinking. And I love that question, because actually that is the beginning of the process that I take, clients through. What are your thoughts? And when they say, and they tell me these dark thoughts, and I'm like, ooh, we need to work on that so that you can feel better. And some of the things to do are, I ask them, would you be open to replacing that thought with a visualization? And every time you have those kinds of thoughts, you open up the drawer with that visualization and replace it. And you need to start to train the brain that every time those thoughts creep up, go to the drawer with that visualization. So for instance, a lot of women say, I can still see his face. I can still see his face. I said, let's replace that face with a scene at the beach or mountaintop or temple or something that you resonate with as far as healing.
Yes.
Every time you see that face or smell that scent, replace it with the visualization, because the brain will respond to that visualization, and it will lessen the amount of times that negativity will pop up. It starts to heal. Another thing that I tell women to do, and it works for men, so I'm only saying that because I work with a lot of women, but another thing that I say to do is put that negativity on a piece of paper, write on it, whatever it is.
Okay.
Bless it, pray on it, put your foot on it, and tell it, you have no power over me.
Okay.
Then dispose of it. bless it and dispose of it. Some of us do burning prayers, and that's part of the burning, but bless it and send it away. You can take control over your thoughts by writing them down, releasing them, replacing them with visualizations, or healing that, honoring that negativity that pops up and says, yes, I see you. I recognize you. Yeah. Thank you for the lesson. I don't need it anymore. I ask that you leave and go to the light.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, I can't get a battle out of her. I can't get a rise out of her. I'm not effective here. I guess I better leave, right? And it'll leave. It will leave.
Yeah.
Yes, it's brain work, and brain work in a spiritual sense is very powerful, very powerful.
Now, as I kind of knew I was going to do, piggyback on what you're sharing there, one of the things that science has shown us too is how powerful the olfactory sense is, and smells. Yes. And so smells and tastes, actually, because I can go back to 1971 when I was shot in the mouth, and for months afterwards, whenever I would hear a gunshot, I would taste blood in my mouth. There was not actually blood there, but this is the way neurons that wire together fire together.
Yes.
So everything that we have ever experienced in sights, sounds, tastes, smells, feelings, they are all stored neurochemically within our body.
Yes.
And I say body because approximately 50% of the cells of our heart are made up of neurons.
Yes.
And actually the heart sends more messages to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So when we understand this, then, as you're saying, substitute. If there is an aroma, if there is a particular smell that brings bad feelings, then find out find a smell like maybe a lavender or something peaceful, and bring that, introduce that, and create a new anchor, create an anchor where a person can shift from the negativity, and they can at will trigger how they want to feel. If you want to transform your life, if you want to feel good, then have good feelings. And we are feeling beings. So recognizing that, okay, how am I feeling? Okay. And what's associated with that? And then consciously learning those things about yourself. And like you're saying, shift it, create the new vision of what it is that you want to see. Create those slots. And I love your metaphor of the drawers. Go to the drawer and pull out what you need in that moment to feel the way you want to feel. And remind me, you don't have any power over me. I am the master of my life, the master of my destiny, the master of my thoughts, and I will not give you anything or anyone permission. I will not give my power away to anyone or anything. So that's good stuff.
Yes, and I just want to say about the olfactory gland, and let's talk about the blood. That taste of blood, because a lot of us have had injuries. I had my face broken by a fist. And I too experienced, that blood in the mouth and down the throat, and I worked to heal that. I'm like, blood's good stuff. I need it in my body.
Yes.
It was a great reaction. It was a great response to what happened to me. And and I work with scent through the olfactory gland to every time that may have appeared as a trigger for me, to change that scent of raw blood, because fresh blood has a smell that people don't forget if they've been injured. And I work to change that into the scent of something from nature, a tree or a flower, using essential oils. And so that is training the brain also. So when that trigger pops up centered around the fresh blood, from the facial wound, I instantly replace it with something calming and soothing and healing, like a cedar or juniper or a jasmine scent or rose scent. And the trigger is going to come, but it doesn't stay. It doesn't stay. And it's a beautiful thing to rewire the brain also for scents.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So invitations will come for all types of feelings that are not resourceful, feelings that we don't necessarily want to have. How much does what do you say to a person that maybe doesn't even recognize that all this is happening to them?
I see it all the time, and I try not to intervene because it's not for me to fix anyone. But what I do, I pray for them, and I just, I hope that their eyes and their mind and their soul will be opened so that they can get out of it. I see it all the time, especially in my own situations. I look at these aggressors, and I'm thinking, like, don't you see what you're doing to yourself? However, that is not for me to fix. That's not my journey, and we have to allow them the space that they're in. But you just pray and send them high vibrational thoughts and expressions, and just I pray you wake up, because they're really asleep. I pray that you wake up.
Yeah, that's and that's one of the things, the illusion of sleep that is used in the Bible. It's used in Upanishads. It's used in Bhagavad Gita. It's in many of the ancient writings across religions. The whole idea of we go through this world and our life asleep, and the invitation is to awake. And what I, Charles Eduardo's, and Victoria's Living System and everything is all about is my call is to awaken and to help as many people as are ready and are desirous to awaken. There is so much unlimited potential in each and every one of us. And the planet is evolving. Things are changing. The vibration is ascending. Even the Schumann resonances are increasing, and just a lot of good stuff about to blow up.
Yes, I love the potential. I love the potential. And another thing is, we can't fix other people. So we wait for those that we are supposed to work with to come to us. We can put it out there. Or maybe we go to, the ones who are supposed to help us. But once we are, in a really high level of healing, we have more patience, and we wait and not insert ourselves into controlling and fixing the lives of others, because then we're doing what was done to us. We just kind of, we're here if we're needed, and we're willing to help, but we don't intercede and say, "Ooh, I could really help you with that." Just wait, and whoever shows up is the one that you're supposed to be working with.
Well, exactly. And even in that, like you say, all I can do is
put it out there.
The path, I can guide you, but ultimately I've had people say, "Oh, wow, you've just, you've changed my life." I said, "No, you changed your life. I just pointed you the way. I gave you some tools, but I didn't do anything, So
I recently used those words. I thank people. I'll randomly pop up in places and in virtual settings, and I'll thank people. Thank you for helping me to save my life. And usually the response is, "You saved your own life."
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And speaking of thanks, the season of Thanksgiving comes and goes and everything, but I think of Thanksgiving as being every day.
Every day.
Being thankful for the opportunity to share in other people's lives, the opportunity to just be alive and to experience the wonders of Gus, God, universe, spirit.
Yes, appreciate everything. I had a friend who sent a message, don't be just grateful for the glass being half full. Be grateful that there is a glass. And that's like, I'm just so thankful for a glass.
Yeah, I'm thankful for a glass, and if it's empty, I'm thankful I got room to receive some stuff in it. Exactly.
Yes,
it's all about the perspective,
Yes, yes.
Did I hear you say earlier in the program is your birthday today?
No, not my birthday today.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm a July baby.
I misheard then, because I was going to sing all over the internet here. No, but so the bottom line is, people could get invited to all kinds of craziness.
Parties.
All kinds of different parties. You got to determine, is this a party that I really want to attend?
Yes.
My mom had an expression: just because somebody gives you an invitation doesn't mean you have to go to the party.
Show up. That's right.
Yeah.
The party of choice is one of discernment, and it involves a pause button and positive energy and light, and stay out of the darkness, stay out of the way of temptation. Pass the test.
Yeah. So, and when we talk again, there are a number of things we touched on about, and we spoke a little bit before we began recording the program here. The whole idea of your basic faith position is of Christian, yet there are certain things of the mystical aspects of Christianity that you fully embrace, which many don't, which many, again, labeling, and without complete understanding, we tend to condemn and put down people that don't stick very rigidly to accepted doctrines and whatnot, which is, in my view, in my opinion, unfortunate.
I don't have limited beliefs. Let's use a redwood, for example.
Yeah.
How does a redwood grow from such a tiny seed? Right. That in itself is mysticism. So I'm a nature girl, and I just marvel. At everything from gems to rocks to trees to plants. How does that happen? Yeah. How does that happen? And I feel very close to nature and using it for healing because that's what my spirit is aligned to. And I fully embrace being mystified because everything is not for us to know in this form. And I feel that if people are using rocks or feathers or gems or trees and plants for the goodness of mankind, that can't be wrong because it's all energy. It's all energy. And it was here before, so it's got some power.
Absolutely. Well, in particular, I think of crystals, and again, the resonance and frequency of various crystals is recorded scientifically, so it's almost like denying things that are right there, looking us in the face.
Yes.
Scripture talks about denying the power thereof, having a form of godliness, but yet denying the power. And then even us as human beings, what does it mean, created in the image and likeness of God? And the psalmist, I think it's Psalm 139, talks about how we are so fearfully and wonderfully made. And you look at the intricacies of the electrical system of the body, the nervous system, and how it operates, how the brain operates. But yet, in any human body, you cannot open it up and find the consciousness, the soul, the spirit of a person. These are things that are elusive. And so for all intents and purposes, our bodies are mechanisms. It's kind of like an earth suit that we need to get around here in this world, but yet there are aspects of our true nature that transcends this physicality. So
it's the energy. Nothing goes without energy, and we can't see it. We can only, feel it and be it and express it. And I'm a firm believer that I came here in spirit form. Everything else was adopted, and it was primarily man-made. And I am determined to stay in the form that I came in, and that is this beautiful free spirit, based all on energy. Wow. And it's a beautiful space to be in. It's total removal from superficial and pompous and man-made grandeur. And we talked about this before. I like nice things, but my energy is incredible. And when you have that, you have nice things, because that's just what you're radiating.
Well, that's the connection to God. I mean, there is no no limit to God. There is no lack in God. There, all is, and recognizing that oneness, even amongst other people. How could I? What is it that your brother? You are your brother's keeper. You are your brother. Jesus' teaching to love your neighbor as yourself. That's not as good as you love yourself. It's love your neighbor. Your neighbor is you. You are your neighbor. Your neighbor is you. So that's powerful stuff. So we're going to have to delve into that a little bit and find out a little bit more about your radical Christian roots.
Oh my gosh. It's a beautiful space. And I do believe that you can use anything to heal by and to work with and to see God. I mean, people are posting pictures of toasts, like you've seen these pictures, where there's an image of God, where there's an image of Jesus or Mary, or, it's that belief system. What do you believe? And if it's great, if it's good, if it's for mankind, go with it. Go with it.
Where is God not?
Yes. And he's in everything. He's in everything.
Yes, indeed. And certainly reflected in you, Felicia Reed. Thank you so much for being with us and talking about this whole idea of not necessarily taking up those invitations to go to those negative places. Control the positivity of your personal energy. Thank you so much. We will be getting back together again here on The World According to Gus in the not too distant future. In the meantime, blessings to you and blessings to all who are listening. This has been The World According to Gus with your host, Charles Eduardos. That's me. And my guest today has been the amazing Wonder Woman, Felicia Reed. We'll catch you next episode.
For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.